He has a way of coming in on us. But during the cradle time, he appears to the lowly. In the cross, you ought to see who gets the message of his resurrection. Look at the one standing right near the cross. The disciples were afraid and scared. And the priests and the scribes were jumping for joy. But a man who was a Roman centurion, the enemy, looked at Jesus Christ and said, surely.
Surely.
Let me tell you something. Let me just drop this in your spirit. And just in case there's some of those among us. Look here. God is going to get his. God is going to get his glory. Where these people, his own people, when he came to them, they received him not. But God will get his glory. And here's a Roman centurion who was in charge, who was in charge over his crucifixion. And he says, surely, this must be the Son of God. He's impacting people from his cradle, impacting people on the cross. Well, if that's not enough to say that his strength is made perfect in our weakness, look at what the cradle and look at what the cross did cosmically. All right. Some stuff happened in the heavens. Some things happened on earth. During his cradle, God moved the stars in order for men to find Jesus. This is not GPS. They couldn't push buttons and all of a sudden a map appeared. But from the far end corner of the universe, God with his star guided them to where the baby was. Stuff happening up in the sky. When the first light, the new light, burst upon the shepherds. Strange things in the atmosphere. Strange things. During the cross. Oh, you took the words right out of my mouth. During the cradle, there's a new light. But during the cross, even in the middle of the day, at noontime, it was pitch black as midnight. But he was on the cross dying. So while he was being born, there's light. When he dies, there's darkness. God shaking the world in his birth and in his death. His strength is made perfect when he's at his weakest. There's another argument. If it's not human, if it's not cosmically, let me share another thing with you. God at both times intervened. At both times, God intervened. Whether it was at his cradle, whether it was at his cross, God intervened. At the cradle, you see how God, when Jesus Christ, when Joseph and Mary were traveling, and when the news or when the circumstance and the condition was not right for him to stay in one city, God moved him. And even came to Joseph in a dream. And God moved him to where the place was safe. He did it twice. And God intervened into the situation. At the cross of Christ, God intervened one more time. So from the cradle to the cross, God is intervening. Oh, you should have been there when he was crucified. Were you there when they crucified my Lord? When the moon, they said, ran down in blood. And God himself poured all of the sin upon his son. And everything that you and I could do, everything, every bad thing that you and I could say, every bad thing that you and I could think, whether it was in the past, whether it was in the present, or whether it was, there are stuff that you're going to do tomorrow that's already been paid for, already been accounted for. He wrote it with one check. Hasn't bounced yet. My father drew on it. My mother drew upon that check. At some time, I drew upon it. My son Joshua can draw upon that check. He ever cleanses us from sin. Even now, he's in the presence of the Father, making intercession for you and I. From the cradle in the cross, his strength is made perfect in weakness. So we have cradle, we have cross. I got one more CR word. Cradle, cross, crown. And I must venture to say that it's the pattern that the Christian has to go through. All right. In the cradle, oh, somebody ought to witness to this. In the cradle, have you been born? The cycle, you can't get past that. You must be born again. And when you have been born again, now listen to me, let's get some good theology. I'm not telling you to go out and do something. You can't born yourself. It's something that has to happen to you. At some point, some lady, God brought some man and some lady, they got together, they had intercourse, and here I am. All of it right here. Because I didn't do it. I ain't had no plan. I didn't think about it. I couldn't conjure it up. I didn't, from eternity, I couldn't say, hey, God, put me into the world. But he moved circumstances. He took one man from over here, another lady from over there. They came together. And then there was a born baby, December 8th. 1956 at 5:22 a.m. in the morning. That's what the statistics say. But have you been born again? That's your cradle. There's a cross for you to bear. Not Jesus' cross, but there's a cross for you to bear. There's a cross that has my name on it. There's a cross that has your name on it. I have no business going and trying to bear your cross, and then you have no business trying to bear mine. But there is a cross for you to bear. You Christian, you're born, there's a cross. You're going to die. What does the cross say? I die daily. I am crucified with Christ. I don't live no longer, but somebody lives in me, Jesus. And that's a crown. Jesus Christ. This is what Advent is all about, Brother Pastor. This is what came out so beautifully in the studies. That look, if he came the first time, if he came the first time, he's coming again. And the promises are there. God promised that he would come the first time he came. God has some people waiting for him to come the first time. No matter how dark it got, no matter how sorrowful it got, no matter how bleak it got, God had somebody waiting for the redemption of Israel. Anna was waiting. Simeon was waiting. And while they were waiting, they did it dutifully. They were faithful to the task. And that's how you know that a child has been born. He's waiting for Jesus to return. Cradle, cross, crown. My strength is made perfect in my weakness. May the Lord bless you this Advent season.
What a marvelous word. Listening to the word proclaimed by the preacher. Old hymn came up in mind. It says something like this: must Jesus bear the cross alone, all the world go free? No, there's a